going to start on the front of the legs. Bring yourself into a plank position right above the kneecap, and you're just going to sway the hips right to left. Now you might notice some roping back and forth. It might feel a little chunky, might feel a little bit painful, so breathe into it. And then once you do about 10 passes back and forth, you're going to settle yourself back into the middle and roll halfway up the quad 10 times. So imagine you're lifting out of the shoulders, but you can kind of let the hips go a little bit as you go back and forth. But just keep the control in your center, relaxing and breathing. Once you hit 10, you're going to go from the middle of the thigh up towards the hip. So you're going to get that top part of the quad. Just paying attention, noticing where you're holding tension, noticing where there might be some tense areas, and breathing into them, keeping the face nice and relaxed. You're going to go back down to the bottom part of the quad and roll all the way up and all the way back down. Again, we're keeping this a little bit faster, not doing any long holds to cause the muscle to relax and release, just bringing fluid and attention to it as you wake it up and bring just attention to that area. So once you've done about 10 passes, we're going to kind of start over again, except to one side. So shift the hips. You're going to go from the kneecap halfway up the thigh again, more so focusing on the outside leg. The inside leg, you can kind of bend it. You're not going to have as much weight coming into it. You're just going to stay on the meaty side of the outside of the quad. So not needing to be on the IT band, but be on the muscular part of your system. Now, once you've hit about 10 times, you're going to readjust yourself so that you're more towards the top part of the hip, and then you're coming halfway down to the middle of the quad. So kind of find where you can maneuver yourself. If you need to, you can plant the other foot down and not worrying about hitting the inside of the other leg. So find your breath, find your relaxation, find your flow in this space. And then once you've done top half and bottom half, you can come all the way up and all the way down. You can use the inside leg for a little bit of leverage. You can stack both legs on top of each other. It just depends how much tension you're holding in this area, but if it feels pretty good and you're not feeling like you're cringing in any capacity, then you can put on a little bit more weight. The roll might move around a little bit and get a little bit tricky, so this is where you can do that stack. So whatever technique works for you and is comfortable, then that's what you're going to do, is you go all the way up and all the way down. I've done a few extra passes on this side just to show just different ways that you can do it. That's plenty, actually. Then when you feel like you've sufficiently covered that side, we're going to hit the outside of the other leg as well. So start on that bottom half, readjust where you need to. Good. Then from the kneecap, back up about halfway. Nice and easy, staying on the meaty side, not needing to go over the bones, not needing to be on the IT band. And then you can do that top half for 10, from that hip, halfway down the thigh. Again, just noticing right to left. Was there any difference? Did it feel the same? Did it feel good? Was it more painful? And just make a mental note so that when you do it, maybe again tomorrow or in the next couple days, you just notice if there was a little bit more tension that was released. Finding that inhale into your stomach, staying nice and relaxed so your nervous system does not get triggered, and then covering the whole span. So then you can either keep that inside leg on the roller, you can double stack the legs up. That might be a little bit too much if you're new to the rolling, but if you've been doing this on a consistent basis, then you might not be holding as much tension in those thighs. But the quads are really easy and really good at hiding that tension. Now we're going to take some activation through here. Since we're not trying to release for a long period, you're just trying to stimulate the tissue, activate, turn it on, and then keep it in alignment. So hip width distance apart, you're squeezing at the top, so you're getting that full activation from the quad. Flex all the way through, stack the joints, extend to the top, and then you can keep that hold. Now, a little bit of activation, depending on the strength, we should be able to extend and bring ourselves back up. So do an inch at a time. If you feel like you can go a little bit deeper, you can go deeper, but the hands supporting the spine help keep that awareness and strength within that low back as you train the quads how to really extend and strengthen using your own body weight. Just trust yourself and listen. You don't need to go that far down. We just want to activate and wake those muscles up, whether you're doing this first thing in the morning, before your workout. It's just up to you. So hamstrings are next. So we hit the front of the legs. Now we're going to hit the back of the legs since they're a nice little team. So you're going to rotate, kind of get into finding where your hamstring connects up into that area can be more of a challenge than even just being able to bring attention to that area. So you kind of wiggle into it, rotate that foot back and forth, and you'll know when you're on it because you'll be able to feel some of that tension. And that's where it connects up into that sit bone area. So once you find your spot, you can go about halfway down, halfway up, keeping the foot in that neutral position because we're going right down the middle. And then 10 times top half, 10 times bottom half. Just keeping the leg extended, but not in that flex of the foot is helpful. But you're just trying to get it to relax. Then you're just going to shift a little bit to go to that outside part of your hamstring. Nice and easy, bottom half, then top half. So I like to just follow where I'm at, so I'm not needing to do a lot of adjustments. Top half of the middle of the hamstring, bottom half, then shift to the other side. Top half for 10, bottom half for 10, full range of motion. So we're just covering the biggest areas of the muscles to really make sure that everyone's awake, everyone's ready, everything's got fluid, every muscle has nutrients. So this is increasing that blood flow, increasing the fluid, and then breaking everything up that might be feeling a little bit sticky. And in that awareness, we just bring attention. We bring flow. Wherever there's flow, there's life. If there's not any flow, then it gets stagnant and gets stuck together. So that's why this is nice for just doing it as often as you feel comfortable, because we're not going into deep stretches and deep releasing that require multiple days of recovery. We're just giving it attention as if it's a workout. We're just getting the pump, we're getting the flow. And then where that hamstring attaches, you can hit kind of underneath where the lower part of the leg hits, because that's where those muscles are going to connect. And then start over at the beginning, just sit kind of right on your sit bone and then rotate the foot back and forth. That's going to expose those areas of the hamstring that we're going to be going for. So if there's one area that's more tight and you notice that it's when the leg's externally rotated, then you're going to go for that part and maybe give it a little bit more attention. And then that nice little scrubbing. It's not deep, it's pretty shallow actually for where the hamstrings sit, so it shouldn't be super painful. If it is, then you just have less weight. So I just start on that top half once that foot is neutral, and then you go to the bottom half. So about 10 passes is good. You're trying to keep it quick, you're trying to keep it light, you're not trying to really push like it's a deep tissue massage. You're just floating over to create friction, to create some shearing force, to bring life and attention to the muscles. Just keep the air flowing, because when we hold our breath, that's when we can tend to trigger the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, which is more in the fight or flight. So you're either in fight or flight or in rest and repair. And we want to be in rest and repair so that we're ready to take care of the muscles in a very safe and healthy way. So just finding that rotation, finding that full range of motion as you take your time, hitting every little piece that needs that love. Deep breath, stay lifted out of the shoulders. It's really easy to sink down in the shoulders when you're putting so much weight and pressure on the wrists and forearms. And then internal rotation, Deep breathing, hitting that semimembranosus and semitendinosus on the inside of that hamstring. Breathe through, top half for 10, bottom half for 10, and then full range of motion for 10. So if you're short on time, you can always do 5 passes on each one in every area of the pieces that you're covering. So just depends on time, but longer holds are more in that 10 to 30 second range, breathing into one specific area, or we're not doing that. Just take a mental note as you map out what's happening within your system and give yourself that self-care that it needs so much. We're constantly using the body, and it's important to keep health and care of it. So once we've opened it up, we're going to activate a little bit, train those movement patterns. So a bridge hold is efficient, pushing up onto the shoulders, get that full extension all the way through, squeezing the glutes and letting that posterior chain know how it works together as a unit. So those hamstrings turn on while the glutes turn on, the low back stabilizes, body is fully in that alignment. And then this isometric hold, you can either hold it in the bridge, or you can take this option to alternate your leg lift, which is going to help with more stability and communication within that lumbopelvic hip complex, which is just a fancy way of saying how the hips are controlling and moving the system. So we're doing legs all as a unit as you're hitting the quads and the hamstrings, because they're a team. And oftentimes when we sit for longer periods of time, the hamstrings tend to get a little bit tight and they're stretched out. So this is just a nice way to get that full extension communicating from the quad to the hamstrings. So keeping the foot flexed is what helps keep the hamstring turned on and activated. You can also do one at a time. Feel that full extension at the top. You might not be able to lock out, and that's okay. You're just getting range of motion, hamstring activation. Now you can do a plantar flexion and point the toes. Again, just different way that the body communicates together, activating and sending the brain those signals, because the brain tells the muscle to move the bone. So our mobility can get really locked up in our ankles, calves, and hamstrings. And so the more we can bring life and attention to those areas, the better they're, which is really important for our overall health of the joints and of our body as one moving, functioning unit. So keep taking care of yourself. You're doing a great job.